long way out of this thing where you're still breathing.
If Armor 2 is happening, it's safe to say gold will still play a big role in the story. Remember how the gold ended up stuck in the water at the end? If someone pulls that armored truck out of the river, the police could start piecing things together and come after Frank. But what about Rook? Whether they track him down is up for debate. With all that in mind, here's everything we know so far about the potential sequel. Armor, starring Jason Patric and Sylvester Stallone, delivers action-packed drama with a simple storyline and some over-the-top effects. At its core, the movie focuses on James Brody, a former cop battling addiction while trying to inspire others to quit. Though James claimed to be sober, he secretly carried a flask of vodka on the job, burdened by his hidden struggle. James worked as a security guard for an armored truck company alongside his son, Casey. Despite keeping his addiction a secret, James had a close bond with Casey, who often complained about the lack of excitement in their work. James would always counter with a reminder that there's nothing sweeter than peace. Little did Casey know, their lives were about to take a dramatic and dangerous turn. One of the most intriguing aspects of Armor is the backstory of James and whether he was responsible for his wife Trisha's death. At first, it seemed like his addiction had played a part in her passing, but as the story unfolded, we learned it was the other way around. Losing Trisha was what drove James to alcohol in the first place. It all started with what was supposed to be a peaceful family camping trip. James, Trisha, and Casey were enjoying their time together until James spotted a speeding car. Trisha begged him to let it go, reminding him he was off duty and not to ruin their trip. But James was always a cop first, and he couldn't ignore his sense of duty. He turned on the siren and pulled the car over. After giving the driver a warning and a ticket, he explained to Trisha that his actions might have saved someone's life. She wasn't convinced and was clearly upset, but Casey stepped in to ease the tension. Just as things seemed to calm down, tragedy struck. A speeding truck came out of nowhere and slammed into their car, killing Trisha. James was shattered, unable to shake the guilt. He kept replaying the moment in his head, convinced that if he had just listened to her and driven on, she might still be alive. Overwhelmed by grief and regret, James turned to alcohol to cope, which eventually cost him his job. While he tried to move on and appeared to be healing, he was still broken inside. In the first movie, this emotional thread was tied up in a way that allowed James to confront his past and begin to find closure. A sequel could explore a different chapter of his life, showing him moving forward and facing new challenges now that he's worked through this traumatic phase. It would be interesting to see how James grows as a character and whether he can finally let go of the guilt that defined him for so long. In Armor, we see James's tragic backstory unfold, particularly the guilt he feels over his wife's death. He carries this burden throughout the film, and it's clear that his past has shaped who he is today. This emotional thread could be crucial for a sequel, as it gives James a chance to finally confront his demons and move forward in his life. The continuation of his journey is important because it allows for the exploration of his character's growth, especially with his son, Casey, by his side. The first film's ending hinted at a new chapter for James, as he saved his son from a deadly situation and refused to let go of him, despite the overwhelming odds. In a sequel, we could see how James struggles with redemption, both in his personal life and his work. While James and Casey's journey together is central, the return of other characters is also essential to the story. The most likely character to return is Rook, the leader of the robbers. Although Rook was shot and seemingly left for dead at the end of the first film, it was revealed that he survived and played a significant role in sparing James and Casey. His motivations were complex, and his decision to help the father and son after the robbery could set up an interesting dynamic for a potential sequel. Rook's character could be explored further, especially his moral compass, which was evident when he chose not to kill James or Casey. His complex relationship with Frank, the corrupt bank manager, could also be a key plot point for the sequel, as Frank's actions directly contributed to the heist. In addition to Rook's return, the search for the gold could provide an exciting direction for the sequel. The gold that was supposed to be transported in the armored truck ended up at the bottom of the river, and while it's assumed that the police will eventually discover it, the question remains: who will go after it? Frank, the bank manager, already knew about the gold's existence and might have informed Rook about it. It's also possible that other parties, like the cartel, might send someone to retrieve it. The gold's presence in the water sets the stage for a high-stakes pursuit, with various players vying for control of it. If the armored truck is recovered from the river, it's likely that the police will try to track down the criminals involved, with Frank and possibly Rook at the center of their investigation. The focus of the sequel could revolve around James trying to stay on the straight path while dealing with the consequences of his past actions. He may be forced to confront the corruption surrounding Frank and the gold while grappling with his own personal demons. Meanwhile, Casey could continue to play a key role in helping his father heal, offering the emotional support that James desperately needs. The tension between the father and son as they navigate these dangers could be a central theme, with the past and future constantly clashing. The unresolved issue of Rook's survival and Frank's involvement in the heist gives the sequel ample room to develop a more intricate plot. If the gold is found, it could lead to an all-out war between the robbers, the police, and the cartel, with James and Casey caught in the middle. Will the father and son team up with Rook again, or will they be forced to go against him as the stakes get higher? This uncertainty makes a sequel not only likely, but also full of potential for action, drama, and emotional development. Armor sets up a sequel with a lot of loose ends. The gold, Rook's survival, and James' internal struggle create a perfect storm for an action-packed and emotionally charged continuation of the story. Whether it's the moral questions that come with handling the gold or the need for James to find redemption, the sequel will likely delve deeper into the characters' motivations and their fight for justice. The tension between doing the right thing and succumbing to temptation will continue to play out, keeping audiences on the edge of their seats. And that's that for today's video, folks. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content. Also, don't forget to comment below and let us know which parts of Armor stood out to you the most, whether it's James' struggle with his past, the potential for a sequel, or who you think will go after the gold next. And of course, your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Don't waste time. You come out now, and we'll get you to a hospital.